to our February business meeting. I'd like everyone to know at home, in efforts to provide accessibility, tonight's meeting is also being translated into Russian, Mandarin, and Spanish. And we have our translation lines open and ready for any questions or issues you may have. I would like to take a roll call at time of 6:40. Kate, can you do it for us? Present. James let us know that he is unfortunately unable to join us in person. He will try to join us virtually. On his way?
Present.
She no longer is on our council. Yeah.
Awesome.
Melissa, unfortunately, is also unable to join us this evening.
Daniela Caputo?
Present.
And Frank Marino.
Present.
All right, we have our quorum, and I'd like to get started with our first order of the item on the agenda, the approval of our January business meeting minutes. Our AA Leah Stumpf is going to place those up on the screen. For all of our families at home, our meeting minutes were circulated prior to this evening's meeting and circulated to all of our council members for their review and input. So we are just seeking approval on those meeting minutes. For any of our CEC members that have already had the chance to review and are comfortable, please place your approval in the chat. And for all those at home, our meeting minutes were also attached to your invitation to join us tonight and are being placed on your screen now. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Frank. All right, our January business meeting minutes are approved. Oh, somebody's coming. Hi. I'd also like the meeting minutes to reflect that our student member has joined us this evening, Princess Abomali. And then we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the president's report. So I want to let all of our council members know that the equity council members have been elected. In the Bronx, it's Amy Ming Tsai, Maribel Gonzalez. For Brooklyn, it's Taj Sutton and Miriam Benchkin Ellis. In Manhattan, Zania Adilova and Aisha Irvin. In Queens, it's Sung In Lui and Al Suhu. In the citywide, it's Andrea Daniels and David Wong. And for our CPAC, it's Erica Newsome, Adriana Alicia, Adriana Alvarez, and Jimmy Brown. So these equity council members will now be responsible for handling issues concerning our CEC, matters of governance and disciplinary action. Again, to remind family members at home, unfortunately, there was no candidate available for Staten Island, and so there is no Staten Island member represented this year. We will have the opportunity to join the Equity Council next year if one of our members so chooses. Our district leadership team for D31 held an informative and successful workshop for our school leadership team members. For any council member looking to share the presentation with your respective liaison schools, you can please reach out to the family leadership coordinator, Rumi Biswas, and she will be happy to make arrangements on getting you that slideshow presentation so that you can share with your principals and other SLT members at liaison schools. We now have a new main face contacts within the government team. Effective February 1st, Jose Gonzalez will be our primary governance specialist. If you have any questions or need some support, any of our members can reach out to him at jgonzalez94@schools.nyc.gov. FACE would also like to invite us on Thursday, February 29th at 6 p.m. to update you on the upcoming election for the 5 new parent members of the Panel for Education Policy. We're so lucky this evening to be joined by one of our current PEP parent representative for Staten Island, Venus Sesang. Venus, if you're there and want to unmute, do you want to just say hi to everybody?
Yes, hi everybody. Thanks for the intro.
Of course. We're so excited and we're hoping that you're going to run again because you've been such a wonderful representative for us thus far. So hopefully you're running again. And if not, then we're going to be putting out the plea for many of our parent advocates across Staten Island to run for the PEP as well. Venus, would you say that the PEP is an important seat?
Yes, it's a really important seat and it's a lot of learning and a lot of commitment.
Yes, it's crucial to parent advocacy here on Staten Island and represents us along on every single educational policy issue that comes across the DOE's desk. It's there to vote and ensure that parents are represented, at that table when those decisions are being made. And so we really thank Venus for her service for this last year. We look forward to maybe her continued service. Slight plug there, Venus. And if not, then we'll address that at the PEP election meeting. Okay, next is, there's a Zoom link, I'm sorry, for that PEP meeting that Leah will share in the chat with everybody. The Department of Education School Construction Authority's proposed February 2024 fiscal year to 2025 to 2029 capital plan is out. And if you would like to request a hard copy of the plan, any of our members can do so by sending an email to the 5-year capital plan at nisca.org. They're going to, the Panel for Education Policy, from to the other, will be voting on that proposed plan on March 20th of 2024. So Venus will be voting on that for us. And if you have any questions, you can contact Cora Liu in the SCA Capital Plan Management Department at 718-472-8377. In addition, FACE is also having a review of conflicts rules for us, including use of titles with the ethics officers on February 8th. It's mandatory for those members who were not able to be part of the orientation in June, and for those who have been appointed by a borough president, appointed by a borough president or the public advocate to fill a vacancy. They encourage all members to attend that meeting, and that session will either be at 12 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 p.m. And there's a Zoom link to join for that as well for all of our CEC members. And finally, we're invited to participate in a 10-week virtual course to become an NYC Reads Family Ambassador. The program is designed for families of students in 3K through 5th grade. So if you have a student in 3rd through 5th grade and would like to be a reading ambassador, you can sign up on the Google form that Leah will post in the chat as well. And that concludes my president's business report for everybody. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to discuss from that report? The floor is open and yours. Don't all jump in at once, guys. If we're good, then I'm going to move on to council member reports. Anyone have any council member reports for us? Then I'll just keep talking. Here I go. All right, are you ready? So there's no update regarding our D75 seat selection, but I'll tell you a little secret. I had a little bird tell me that the D75 President's Council did actually conduct their interviews, and they are closing that interview process at the end. They ended it in January. If anybody else applied by January 31st, it means that they would be moving that process until February. So we may have a council member join us in maybe February, maybe March, maybe April, depending on when that is. We still have vacant seats for our ELL representative and a D31 representative as well. So Leah will place that vacancy in the chat as well for everybody at home. If you know anybody, if you'd like to join us here, if you're so excited by this meeting and can't wait to be with us, we'd be happy to have you. So please feel free to fill out a vacancy application. Our resolutions committee is going to be scheduled to meet on Monday, February 26th at 7 p.m. A flyer will go out and we'll be discussing all of the recent resolutions that we've had over the past couple months and addressing those on that Monday. I want to let everybody know that BP Fasella kicked off his Readers Are Leaders program at PS 65, led by the wonderful Prince of Mary Jacob Alex. That reading program challenges fourth graders in the borough's public, parochial, and private schools to read a minimum of 5 books at grade level or above during a 5-week period. Students then submit a report of their favorite book at the conclusion of the program, and each school chooses one super reader to receive an award during a special ceremony in May. Each super reader also has the opportunity to compete to have a short story published by Showtime Publications, a local Staten Island publishing company owned by Bob Williams. And so any teachers that are interested in having their classes participate, we're going to put that link in the chat as well. I want to do a really important shout out to the outstanding members of the PS26 PTA and the amazing team at our district office. I was fortunate enough to be able to witness Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC read his wonderful book, Daryl's Dream. It's a story about finding confidence, facing bullies, and celebrating yourself. It was truly inspirational. He was amazing with the children. They were so happy, and I couldn't express to you how joyful it was to hear all of these kids read aloud with him. He originally had thought it was just going to be him reading the book to them, and all the kids surprised him and said they wanted to read with him. So the whole room broke out in reading this book, and it was just beautiful. It ties into the important work that our CEC is doing here to address the bullying crisis that our children are facing on Staten Island. And I'm so grateful to Principal Bassett and to the superintendent for allowing me to be part of such a special day for our kids. It was really great. In addition to that, we also recently held the mayoral control hearing here at the end of January. And that addresses the state's education department is studying the effectiveness of New York City's 20-year-old system of mayoral control, which is set to expire on June 30th. Staten Islanders and our UFT representatives, district offices were here, superintendent was here, and our very own student representative on our CEC, Princess, was here as well to air their views about those hearings. And most educators, parents, and other community members voiced the opinion that they need to see it revised or overturned. This is a shared viewpoint from our CEC. We had written a resolution that's available on our website regarding mayoral control and our strong feelings towards the revision of that program. I would love to turn it over to Princess to let us know her thoughts about that experience and give her the floor for a few minutes. I also just want to note quickly before I do that, that Governor Hochul has proposed a 4-year extension to that mayoral control. So that's something that people should be aware of. Princess, take it away, please.
Proposing the establishment of the citywide leadership team, CLT, in New York City. So I, Princess Sheila Avamelli, a high school student and member of the Community Education Council, CEC, District 31, a public body created by the state education law comprised of elected members who are parents of public schools in the district and appointed members who have expertise in public education and tax with advising the New York City Department of Education, makes this statement of opposition of the New York City Legislature A 1799 and S 2967, and states as follows. So the City of New York School Education and their school system is the largest in the United States, as we all know, with over 1.1 million students and currently under the undemocratic control of the mayor with a bureaucratic and ineffective policymaking system and school governance that is in dire need of overhaul, as widely have been advocated by numerous stakeholders, including parents all around the city. I support the outcry for a prominent place for parents at the education policymaking platform in our public school system. I am in complete opposition in the New York State's Legislature A 1799 and S 2967, currently proposing the establishment of a citywide leadership team, CLT, in New York City. I'm also opposed to the current mayoral governance of our school system, and I propose that our public education system should be made more responsive to our parents, communities, and educators for reasons set forth as follows. I believe that eliminating mayoral centrally and unilaterally focused control of schools will not only facilitate the development of students and school staff, performance standards in our schools, but also offer better individualized assistance to the students and more effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of students' needs. It is my view that more parents and community involvement in our schools' governance will increase the likelihood that students will learn and thrive better. As a student myself, I know that we are more prepared for school and more likely to achieve and just thrive better and more likely to graduate when we are personally supported by our schools, our families, and our communities. And as the CEC rightly pointed out, creating the CLT is not the effective solution to our flawed school governance system. And hence I support the proposition that while our city works with our parent leaders to develop an alternative to the mayoral control of our school system, the legislature A 1799 and S 2967 should be completely rejected.
Thank you, Princess. What an amazing statement. We so appreciate you attending that meeting and really gleaning more from that whole experience and being able to share such thoughtful commentary on it. Thank you so much. All right, I'd like to cover some old business really quick if we can move to the next item on the agenda. I just want to let everybody know our fiscal 2025 to 2029 capital plan suggestions have been confirmed and accepted by SCA. We've also emailed all potential Resolution A funded projects to our electeds for their information. And then we can move on to the new business on our next month's agenda. Sound good, guys? Anybody with new business? Good. Then we can maybe motion to adjourn.
Motion.
1, 2, seconded. We're good to go. Everybody, we're going to take a couple minutes and we'll join you back at about 7:30 for our calendar meeting. So hang tight. We're going to go grab some food. I hope you guys do the same, and we'll see you in about a half an hour. Thanks. Probably me. Hello. Hi, friends. Welcome. All right, so my name is Lucia Curatola Boylan. I am your CEC president for District 31, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our calendar meeting for February. I want to let everybody at home know in efforts to maintain accessibility for all of our families across Staten Island, this evening's meeting is being translated into Russian, Mandarin, and Spanish. We have our translation lines open if anybody needs to use them, and via our AA will facilitate that for you. I'd like to start with a call to order at 7:29. We're starting a little early, and a roll call, please, from Kate.
Lucia Curatola Boyle,
I am present.
Frank Marino,
Present.
Joseph Bird,
Present.
Ekaterina Slobodkin, present. Andrew Guido,
Present.
Daniela Caputo,
Present.
Teresa Sorelli, present. And Princess Shayla Bameli. Great.
Jimmy Desiderato is not able to join us this evening, and neither is Melissa Cosentino. We'll let the record reflect that. All right, I'd like to move on to the first item on our agenda, which is the approval of our calendar minutes for January. I'd like to let everybody know at home that our calendar meeting minutes were circulated prior to this evening's members. They all had the chance to review them prior to tonight. And if you received our invitation to this meeting, then our meeting minutes were also available in that invitation. We'll take just a moment to review them on the screen. And for my CEC members, if you could just place your approval in the chat. You've had the chance. And approve. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Princess. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Daniela. All right. We're good to go. Our meeting minutes, our calendar meeting minutes are approved. I would like to go to the next item on our agenda, which is our presentations. And this evening we are joined by Tim Costanza, He is the educational director of Bridge Charter Preparatory School, which is here on Staten Island and located in the Petrides Educational Complex. So Tim, if you'd like to get your camera on, and we'll turn it over to you. Come be my friend and sit with me. Come closer. Said the spider.
It's not really.
Kidding, kidding.
I got it. Tell me to slide over.
Yes,
This is like such a customer service.
come on in.
Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to talk to the camera and then the council at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me here. I'm Tim Costanza. I am the executive director and head of school at Bridge Prep Charter School. Here in this building, right down the hall. And we've been here in Staten Island now for 5 years. This is our fifth year. We opened in 2019. We serve students in grades 1 through 5, about 240 students across our grades. We serve students from every single zip code here in Staten Island, which is something that we take pride in, knowing that our reach is able to expand to students from every single elementary school. We get students from public school, district schools, private schools, and our reach is growing each year. We're in the process of going through actually right now. We just finished our first renewal period. So we're authorized by NYSED, the Board of Regents, and it's been a pretty interesting process. Time for us for reflection. Are we committing? Are we serving the students that we've committed to serving? Students with language-based learning differences. When we opened 5 years ago, we were the first school in New York State public school to serve this group of students explicitly, to target them, to recruit them, because we know that about 1 out of every 5 students in our schools, public schools, district schools, private schools, have some sort of language-based learning differences, with dyslexia being the most prominent. And that spans the grades. That's starting us early with our early readers in pre-K, going all the way through high school. And so when we opened with elementary school, we were 240 kids, we were dropping the bucket. And so since we've opened, there's been such incredible work done across the state, here in Staten Island especially, right? Our elementary school partners, people that we partner with, principals, the district leadership teams, have done incredible work to enhance literacy acquisition for so many kids. Our English language learners, particularly, is something that's really notable here in Staten Island. What we know is that the work that we are doing, specifically at Bridge Prep, has been fantastic. Our data is showing that kids are not only reading more proficiently, but they're looking to read. And so I encourage folks to I always tell people, talk to our families. And our little plug for someone behind me over here, Mrs. Aluzzi, our director of family and community development, who's been with us since day one, our first ever employee. And she can talk specifically, if you ever want to talk to her about like our families, or talk to our families just about the impact that our work has had on them. Part of our growth has been, how are we doing as an elementary school, and how can we expand our impact? So one of the ways we took feedback from our community of families, and actually from the larger Staten Island community, is like, hey, can you offer kindergarten? We have first grade as our entry point, and it's great because we get kids that we really need our school, and we often are doing remediation. We've talked and said, how can we get ahead of that if we get students earlier, right? Looking at pre-K and kindergarten. And so we asked NYSED as part of our renewal to provide us with kindergarten, and we're waiting to hear the results, but we're feeling pretty confident. I had a really nice conversation with Commissioner Rosa when she visited Bridge Prep last year, and she strongly encouraged us to expand to the early child. She actually encouraged us to expand to pre-K. And, how do you tell the commissioner, like, whoa, like, let's slow down, let's do it one thing at a time. But she felt really strongly about the work that we were doing and expanding. We get emails and calls every year from folks that don't come to our school, from the Staten Island community, and they're going to school everywhere, in all different types of schools. And they say, what happens when kids leave at 5th grade? Where do they go? And like, are you confident, Tim, that they're ready, middle school ready, and are reading at a middle school level? And what we say is that the work that we do is good work, but it's not miracle work. It takes time, and everybody that does this work knows that. And that we oftentimes say, like, wow, we really wish we had more time with them. with the group of students that we have. And so we have not had the opportunity to expand to middle school through our current charter, because we're, as folks know or may not know, in New York City, there's a cap on the number of charter schools that can open as set forth by the legislature. The hotly debated topic, one which I am not getting into tonight, nor will I say my feelings on that. But what I will tell you is that this past December, we and all charter schools in New York State were made aware that there were going to be 9 what they call zombie charter school slots opening up for schools. And that term is not ours, that term is the state's. And it's basically meant to say that there are 9 charters that were given out to schools that were never used. And schools have decided they're not going to use them. And so they're not quite dead, but they're alive. So I guess that's where they got the zombie term. It's not my favorite, and I don't like coming out to talk to people about like zombie charters. It's real weird. I wish they were called something else. But these zombie charters, only 9 of them are going to be issued in the city of New York. And it's an opportunity that charter schools across the city, existing ones, ones that are new, have come up and said, like, we may not get an opportunity to open another school because it does not look likely that the legislature in New York State is going to increase the charter school cap. So for schools like ours that are so specific in the mission and so specific in the target population that we serve, that we're not this, cookie cutter charter that is like, how do I say this now? I'm putting my bureaucrat hat on. Dr. Wilson helped me here. Usually she's way better. She's good at this. But how do I say this? That we're not this like no excuses, very like machine type charter school. But this is a school that we have that has met a need in this community and looks to continue to do so. So we met with our board and talked about what could we do? Should we consider applying for a zombie charter school? And taking a long shot, because they opened the application on December 28th, and the application is due on February 8th, which for those of you that know is Thursday. So it's no big deal. I know we have some middle school people in the room. Just designing a middle school in 3 weeks, how hard could that be? But we felt that it was something that we could not say no to. That the demand that we have from families, alumni families, who have come to us and say, if you can, do it for somebody else's kid. For our current families who beg us, Ms. Saluzzi can attest to this, emails, pick up and drop off. Please, what can you do for middle school? Our kids are making great success and we don't want them to leave. So we decided to submit an application to SUNY, which is another one of our New York State authorizers, different than our current authorizer, and apply for a zombie middle school. We a new middle school that would open here on Staten Island in September of 2025. Which is the earliest that SUNY will allow a new school to open. And for us, again, we're not in the business of just popping out charter schools and trying to open them. We decided that if we were going to open this, we would open with a intent, and that was to serve students immediately, but effectively. And so I'm coming to you part of this, and I apologize for this, like, hey, I'm coming to you, we're doing this and it's going to go in on Thursday. That's not how I like to do business. But this is just the timeline that we have to let you know that we're going to submit this application. And just if you give me 2 more minutes, I can tell you a little bit about what we are going to do. Ms. Saluzzi, do you have that flyer we can give to folks here on the council? So we're going to share with you exactly what we put out in the community, which is just that we're planning to open this school that is going to feel like an extension of what we're doing at the elementary school level. Same intent, same mission, same target group, but it's going to happen at the middle school level. And part of the work that I do outside of Bridge Prep or with Bridge Prep is I work with NYSED, the State Education Department, and I just was appointed by Commissioner Rosa and Chancellor Young to serve on something called the Path Forward Initiative, which is how are we integrating the science of reading into educator prep programs at the college and university level. So we're training and supporting our teachers to do this right when they come. And the work that we're doing says the science of reading, which is not a new thing. It may feel like a new thing because the governor's talking about it a lot now and the mayor has been pretty vocal about it. And the biggest supporter of all of the science of reading that I've seen in my time is Chancellor Banks. And while we're not a DOE school, I'll be the first to say that the work he's doing on this is fantastic. And I'm really pleased to support him and serve on his literacy advisory council as well. the science of reading is not new, but the term is often applied to early childhood or elementary school education. And the question always comes out, what happens at middle school? Do we just stop like figuring that kids need to learn how effective literacy instruction? Or do we just assume that they've got everything at elementary school? And that's what we do, right? Sometimes we really rely on our elementary schools to deliver that effective literacy instruction. But for a lot of kids, like that's not enough. For many kids, in fact. And so the design that we're bringing is, how do we take what they call the big six of effective literacy instruction and apply it to what we call the core four? How do we take these big six components and apply it to ELA, science, social studies, and math across content at the middle school level? And it's not something that we've seen done. We've done a lot of work in our 5 years and the 5 years prior to founding our school to look for best practices. And all the best schools we've seen this done in is elementary schools. At the middle school level, it gets a little dicey because you're incorporating content, explicit content. So you really need content specialists. And so when we built this school over the past 3.5 weeks, we're designing a specialized middle school, one that really focuses on the way that adults work in the building to support student needs. Positions that are mandatory on the staff, things like literacy interventionists, one on every grade, speech and language pathologists that are not doing mandates, but purely coaching teachers on oral language on every grade. The school is meant to be small. Our school now, as mentioned, is 240 students. The middle school is being designed for about 228 students across 4 sections a grade. So the intent is 75, 76 students a grade across 4 sections for about 18 or 19 in a grade, in a class. What we found is that we get results because our classes are small. We get results because we have a high ratio of adults supporting students in the room. And it's not something that is cheap to do that. We budget really specifically for that. That's most of our budget is professional learning and staff, but that gets us results. So the CEC has been supporters of Bridge Prep 1, and I know that like it sounds like when you see on our thing, this is going to be called Bridge Prep 2, and I've gotten made fun of about 20 times that we couldn't come up with a better name than Bridge Prep 2. But I think we did that really deliberately. We did that because we wanted folks to know that while this is not technically an expansion of our current school, that this is rooted in everything that we've done here for 5 years and continue to plan to do at the elementary school level here, but expanding that through to middle school. So we are taking feedback. So there's a QR code on your paper. And for folks that are on the chat, we're happy to, if you go to our website, you can go to our website, bridgeprepcharter.org, and there's a link that'll bring you right to this feedback survey. And part of this process before we submit the application and even through the application process is, what do folks in the community want to see out of a middle school? I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with a lot of the middle schools and middle school leaders here in Staten Island, and they're fantastic. And I'm looking forward to, as I've done with our elementary school leaders, learning from them as well. You know, I really believe in shared practices because at the end of the day, 228 middle school kids is a drop in the bucket, as you all know, of the middle school kids here in Staten Island. And anybody's, you know, any way that we can support and we can get support from each other as leaders, educational leaders in the community is better for kids. I come to work and I'm a school leader, and I go home and I'm still a dad of kids in this community. And my kids could be going to somebody else's school, and I want them to be as prepared as a school leader as I am, and as prepared as my teachers are to teach my kids how to do the things that they need to do. That's how I operate. And that's how we've operated for 5 years and will continue to operate collaboratively. So we want to hear some feedback, and there's a way you can show support as well, also on there. And I come to the council tonight just not only to inform you, but to ask you to think about supporting this. And I know that it's really hard to support something that somebody just comes and sits here and tells you and like, hey, can you give us support in 2 days? And that there are things that we're working through on the design. But the idea is that in this community, we know that families want options. Not better ones. That's not the word I used. Different ones. Just choice. I told you I don't get into the charter school dynamic and the charter school battle because it gets really icky, but I will always talk about choice and the value that that brings to families. One of the things that makes this district, I'm really excited to like send my kids to school in this district because of the choice that we have here. But for a certain group of students, the group of students that go to school down the hall and downstairs, they've needed our choice. They continue to need our choice. And there are kids outside of our school that have never come to us for elementary school that may realize in the 5th grade or the 6th grade that they need our choice at middle school. And our design has open seats for those students as well. So we've planned to be able to allow all of our kids that go here to have a seat, while also opening additional seats for students in the community, whether they live here now, whether they move here, whether they're English language learners, or they don't know that they have the need yet. And that's what's given us success so far, and that's where we're going to go for moving forward. So I'm open to a few folks asking questions. I get the question a lot, and I'll just address it right now, if you don't mind, about space. I get that question a lot. Like in 3 weeks, I've gotten it like maybe like 53 times. So part of the process, and I'm going to talk about process for a second, and you guys all know this, is for any school that wants to exist in a community, is they have to request space from the New York City Department of Education. That doesn't mean that they necessarily will end up in a Department of Education building should space exist. It just means that they part of the process to get what they call rental assistance, right? This is under the education law, is that the DOE has to tell you, no, we do not have space for you. Instead, we will give you rental assistance. The choice is space or rental assistance, and that choice lives with the Department of Education. We will request space, and I want to make it clear right in the beginning so there's no surprises. So it doesn't say you told us you wouldn't at this meeting. We're going to request the space because that's the process. The decision to give us space does not live with me. And for some of you, you're probably saying, thank goodness. But that's not what happens, right? We request the space. The Department of Education could tell us no, and then we have a choice to say, yes, we'll take the rental assistance and we will go look for private space. I will tell you in full honesty and transparency, we have already begun looking for private space because that's good planning. And if nothing else, anybody on my team can tell I'm a planner, and I try to get ahead of it. So the second we decided we were going to look for it, we went and started to begin engage partners in the community about space. Anything else on that topic?
We have a question.
Yeah, so on the space topic, right? So you came, I think, a year ago or so with Joanne, who has since retired, as you know. So in hindsight, right, one of the things we hear, and me personally, for my liaison schools here, it's about the current space construct at Petrides and some of the challenges that this existing co-location has created. So my question to you is, in hindsight, right, knowing what you know now, knowing the current situation, what's the view on the current space situation as it exists for Bridge Prep 1, and then obviously what you're envisioning for Bridge Prep 2?
That's a curveball question. I was not thinking about thinking it's a good one. Because we talk about
My relationship with Ms. Buckeye was fantastic. And in the beginning, I don't know that like anyone, either of us would have classified as that when we started. Because sharing anything when you're thinking about school and kids and you're focused on your own thing is tough. And I could never have imagined being her when coming and saying, hey, you have to share blank. Nor could I imagine folks that have been in this building, right? So we talk about this Buckeye, I also talk about folks that we share space with in this building, right? That we are asked to say like, hey, and I'm seeing some of you here, right? Saying like, hey, like we're gonna like share a building with you. We're gonna put school downstairs. So it takes a lot of adults putting kids first, and that has happened on this campus. That relationship continues with Mr. DeVitas. And it took some time, if I'm being honest, to like really like figure out how we do that and how we do it well. And is it perfect? It's not. I think that there are things that we still have to work out. There are still things that like will never be optimal for either school community. Things like sharing of the gym, right? We share the gym. Sharing the cafeteria. Would it be optimal if we had our own cafeteria? Absolutely. Mr. DeVitas would tell you the same thing. Would it be optimal if we had our own gym?
But to be clear, right, I don't think that's what was
clear, right? I
presented
don't
when
think
there was
that's what
original
was
approval
presented when
in
there was original
CEC, right?
approval
I think based
right?
on the
I think
minutes, right, the
based on the minutes,
general
right, the general
conversation that occurred between you and Joanne at the time, right, when you were
right,
presenting,
when
was
you were
that there
presenting,
were no
was that there
space
were no space
challenges,
challenges,
and you were going to
and you
work
were
it
going to
out.
work it
I
out.
think what's
I
come
think what's
to
come
light,
light,
right, and this is from
from
parents,
parents,
right, from a variety of different SLT and PTA conversations, is that there's been a decrease in the physical activity being awarded to the Petrides individuals during this year. So I think there's two things, right? I agree with you on putting kids first, right? And your program clearly does that and addresses an extremely important aspect of the population, which needs that to be done. But I think we have to be really careful about doing that at expense of other students and a mitigation of time that they have for things like you're talking about physical activity in the gym. There's also another thing I just want to call out that you mentioned around children's safety, right? I'm sure, as you guys know, I'm sure coming here on a daily basis, we have yellow buses coming to Bridge Prep, blocking the entirety of the egress lane coming into Petrides, which requires every single day, and we've talked, I also sit on community board one, we've talked to the 1-2 about this, all parents to swerve onto the oncoming lane of traffic, right? Cross the double yellow line. So I agree with you. We have to put kids first. We also have to put their safety and their well-being first. And what I'm saying is that based on this past year, I don't think that co-location has done that. And that's also subsequently what I've been hearing from the parents of my liaison schools. And quite frankly, I've observed on a daily basis with students crossing in between yellow buses, the way that it sits in front of the the way it sits in front of Petrides intake.
So just a quick follow-up. Are you the representative of this?
Correct.
School? With this
Correct.
preschool?
Correct.
Okay, so part of the thing that.
Campus, and I'm sure that you know this then, is we hold monthly campus council meetings with the school leaders and representatives from the district team. In those meetings, in fact, in our past meeting that happened 2 days ago, we had a big conversation around campus safety, around everybody's role in campus safety, school safety. Every school leader, every school, the Hungerford School, the number of buses that you're talking about. In fact, we actually had a decrease in the number of school buses that come onto campus. They're just coming on a different way, but it's something we talked about. So at the campus council meeting, which I would actually encourage you to attend specifically if you have these concerns, because they haven't been raised. I'm being super transparent. You're being transparent, so am I. This has not been brought to us from the folks. So while I really want to hear and want to,
but I want to be, have you observed it though? I mean,
of course,
you've seen it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
You
Just to
see
be
it too,
clear,
right?
yes, we see it every day. No,
Okay,
just to be clear, I understand that you're saying they have been waived during the campus council, but we see these things on a daily basis.
Yeah,
It's not a safe situation for
So
anyone. quite
I'm
frankly.
gonna weigh in
There's a-
here. Lucia, President, Lucia, if I can weigh in, please. So yeah, so Tim, thank you so much for your presentation. So I want to just piggyback on Mr. Byrd. So these things did come up over the summer, Tim. We had a long conversation, and only because, again, putting students first, we were able to kind of mitigate some of these things. But the concerns that Mr. Byrd is raising is stuff that has come up. If it's not coming up again, and I'll, defer to Ms. Lachlan, who does attend the campus meetings, but Joanne raised concerns. There were concerns from me and my team about it as well, with the whole coming through. And then, my team, we felt very blindsided because we didn't know about, so forget about the inconvenience with the parking spots, but just taking away it's like almost a whole side. Parking was gone, the way people came in, but we made it work because we do have a great relationship. And I have to commend you. The things you do for kids is short of amazing. And I really appreciate that partnership. So I want to back Mr. Byrd, not that he needs my backing, but those problems did come up and, they surface and we try to work through them. But if it's surfacing again, we do have to listen to that feedback. Secondly, my concern that I want to raise, I'm all excited about kids transitioning to a middle school and there's continuity of learning. However, I am going to bring up that, you were gracious enough to include my team through Christine to partner with our middle schools to go through enrollment, the city department, not just Marion Wilson or District 31, to open up sections of programs at IS 34, IS 72, and IS 61. Now, if you're opening up your own, what does that do for my principals who opened it up with the understanding that they were going to build the programs year to year now? So you're talking about register projections that they're going to lose, sections that they may have to close if people decide that they want to stay with Bridge Prep, which, parents have a right. We want parents to choose the right location, but then we did not go in that this was going to be just a 1-2 year program. We went in to get the DOE's approval that this was going to be something long-term. So I just want to go on the record by saying this is a concern for me, advocating for the principals to start these programs. They worked in a year-long collaborative with your teachers to open up these sections in all of these schools. And I don't know if Chavez wants to add anything else. It's going to be a problem having to tell them now that you may have to close your program because Bridge Prep is expanding.
And I also think the collaboration, just to add to what Dr. Wilson said, the collaboration and the work that the teachers were doing among schools and with your school and, enhancing the literacy experiences in the middle school, we did look at this as a long-term partnership and work that would benefit all students on Staten Island. So, we support and appreciate, bigger thinking. But when we jumped into this, it was with the understanding that this was a pathway because the students in Bridge Prep didn't have a place, but also other students in District 31.
Yeah, so sorry, thanks, Christine, Dr. Wilson. So first thing is I don't necessarily think that there, in my opinion, like I don't see this as a replacement to those programs. I think it's in support of and in supplement to. I think that, and I spoke earlier about the relationships that we have in the district with principals, right? I speak to all three of those principals at those LIDS programs, and just to tell them that what I hear is that my kids are having great experiences there. So like, this is not something to say that like I would not be looking to continue. I don't think we would be looking to continue to partner with those schools as well. I think that as you said, Dr. Wilson, if a family chooses, and I want to be clear, I have no guarantee that a family is going to choose to stay with Bridge Prep or choose to go to IS 34. They very well may. And if a family wants to do that, we're going to support that. We're going to support a family to do that. But what we do know, and I'm going to say that this is the same exact answer that I would give about elementary school, is that there's not enough seats in those three programs to meet the needs for all of the kids that we have that need this. So I think that I understand, and I'm going to be respectful to you, Dr. Wilson, as a leader, that I understand where you're coming from in the concern and advocating for your principals and advocating for those schools. And this is not something that was, to be honest, when we sat and had those conversations around planning for LIDS and the time that we gave and our team gave to support the development of the LIDS program, we actually had no intent of opening a middle school. And that's the truth. This was an opportunity that was brought to us, and we actually did not know that like we were going to have this opportunity again. So whether it's like short term in 2 years or long term in 5 years, it's just something that we did not know what that timeline looks like. And in fact, if we talk about the record, right? You can go. Our board meetings are public. Our minutes meetings are public. You can go and see the dialogue that we had around, expansion. And middle school was not something in this immediate time. In fact, we talked about and celebrated. And I'll be honest, in this very moment, in this very week, in fact, I talked to families about being excited about going to DOE middle schools, those 3 middle schools, because we've supported this class that are graduating into going into those programs. So our job is to provide the choice. And if kids choose to go to any DOE middle school, whether it's one of the LIDS program schools, whether it's Patrides, whether it's Marsh, wherever it is, we're going to support that. We do extensive outreach to our alumni, even though we only have one group so far. And just to land on back to, I'm sorry, what was your Bird, Mr. Bird? I agree with Dr. Wilson, and to say like, do I see it? Not only do I see it, I live it, like I drive it, right? And first and foremost, like my responsibility is to keeping kids safe. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a safety nut in this building. To the point where like we've come up with in the last meeting, and I would encourage some conversation with folks in Patrides. Mr. James is great about like getting you guys in the loop on this. Some alternative planning. To Dr. Wilson's point was like, what's the alternative? How can we like come up with a different scenario? Like we're very open to that, and we're open to changing that mid-year. We talked about like any adjustments that we can make with the campus council, and we'll continue to do that. Because yeah, your original question was like looking at it now, is it optimal? Yeah. And I'll be really honest with you. If we find a space that can accommodate 2 schools,
Yeah.
like my responsibility is to consider everything.
Yeah, of course.
And I will do that. Yeah. Now my friends at DOE Central might be really mad at me that I said that out loud, because we have a lot of work gone into this placement. But the truth is, like everybody has a job to represent their community. That's my job.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure as you can understand, right? Like I'm saying, we want to also support kindergarten, which is additional grades on this site, right? And then obviously coming, we have this wishful proposal for a virtual, considering the challenges that currently exist, we all acknowledge, right? It's suboptimal or not great, right? the ability to support today, right, with 3 days prior to the submission, with the existing challenges, I think it's a really difficult ask.
Iris, listen, I respect
honestly.
your opinion, and I know, I'm sure that you've talked to other co-located
principals, or other.
principals that deal with challenges across the board, ones that we don't have actually exist here, given the size and the space of this campus, and the multiple entry points. You could just talk right to the Hungerford School up the block, right up the hill rather, and they could talk to you, that is a whole block though. They could talk to you about the concerns and the struggles that they've had on the campus as well, prior to or in addition to this. So I think that every co-located scenario has their challenges, and I actually think that our challenges here are very different than the ones that are experienced citywide. And even the ones that I've experienced in my time prior to coming here working for DOE Central, seeing a lot of co-located buildings with 7 co-located schools. Is that optimal for kids? Absolutely not. But when you have a scenario where space is the most scarce resource that exists in this city, and Staten Island is not immune to that, this is the thing that, it requires adults to figure out. I would say that, to your point about not supporting a new school for kids, without even acknowledging or knowing where the space is, that's your choice. And I respect wherever you're coming from based on your current experience. I like to say
to be clear, I just want to clarify, right? To be clear, not supporting a new school for kids based on this sheet.
Oh
right?
yeah,
And this
well,
sheet is
you said based on the
right,
current co-location.
the current co-location plus this sheet, which is a QR code which says we're doing a survey, right?
Yeah.
So like and I may have had unrealistic expectations, but if we're being asked to support something, I'm expecting a little bit more like a planned presentation.
Okay, listen, I thank you for your feedback.
Any other council members with questions? All right, then.
Well, not council
Tim, thank
person,
you
but I
for
just want to
coming.
say,
It's always a
I want to
pleasure.
thank,
Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to thank Tim, because we've been trying to work together, and I've said that kids come first, and that's why, there was no resistance in even moving the team upstairs temporarily to the space that we're in. And if the kids need it, I've already told people, don't get too comfortable, don't unpack too many boxes yet. Kids are at the center of all the decisions that we make. So, as always, we're going to try to figure something out, and just thank you for listening to us and just taking these things under consideration. And we'll go through the process where we'll have community engagement and land on the right thing for all students. So thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. And I would encourage any council member, actually, the campus council meetings, we have them on our website on the dates, more than welcome to come. We love the feedback. I have really good conversations right in the street on Ocean Terrace with some of the parents from Petrides, oftentimes telling me how they feel in the morning at 7:30. So I'm happy to do that in a more formal setting. Absolutely. But thank you for having me tonight on such short notice. We should.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much, Tim. We're excited about the options for your bridge. Okay. I'd love to move to the next item on our agenda, which is my president's report. All right, people, here we go. I want to let everybody know, there it is, that Broadway Bridges is a program which provides $10 Broadway tickets to massive batches of high school students, and it's returning as of January 31st with 20 shows participating in its 2024 cycle. The Broadway shows participating this spring are Juliet, a beautiful Romeo and Juliet, A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, Aladdin, Back to the Future, the musical, Chicago, Hadestown, Harmony, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, How to Dance in Ohio, Kimberly Akimbo, Merrily We Roll Along, MJ, Moulin Rouge, the musical 6, Bailout, Sweeney Todd, The Lion King, The Outsiders, Water for Elephants, and Wicked. So if you don't have a chance to see these Broadway shows because tickets are outrageous, $10 tickets for our high school students is not to be missed. We're going to supply the link in which you can check out the program and have your school apply to have tickets for those. The $60 million cut to the city's school foods budget is forcing the DOE to remove its pricier items, including cookies, chicken dumplings, and bean and cheese burritos. Additionally, at some of our middle schools and high schools, food court style cafeteria students will no longer get chicken tenders, grab and go salads, or French fries. Other items that are going to be taken out of rotation in February include roasted chicken thighs and legs, as well as guacamole and salsa. There will no longer be breakfast meal kits, French toast sticks, bagel sticks, ciabatta bread, and sweet potato oatmeal muffins will also be scratched. Yeah, so
Also the amount.
yes, it's a lot. So unfortunately, that budget cuts are going to affect your children's bellies. There'll still be plenty of nutritious foods available. It will all meet the FDA standards and all the things that they're supposed to do. It just may not be their favorites. Okay. To help address tensions over the Israeli-Hamas war, NYCDOE is providing a new training course for educators, expanding curriculum resources, and signaling to principals that they will not tolerate bullying and other bigoted behavior. We've spoken this previously at our CEC meetings, and it is an issue of true concern. This spring, all middle school and high school principals will receive a training focused on navigating difficult conversations, and those leaders will be responsible for sharing what they learn with their staff. The city is also updating its diversity training to delve more deeply into anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Chancellor Banks has also announced an interfaith advisory council that will help guide the city's response. It is wild out there, folks, and so we need to help arm our children with real knowledge and not just 7-second TikTok. So thank you to the DOE for stepping up. We have applications to the city's free public preschool programs are open. The application period will remain open until March 1st. Offers will then be released in May. The city's 3K and pre-K, serving 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, offer free full-day educational programming in public schools, as well as community-based organizations. Parents can apply in one of 3 ways. You can apply online at myschools.nyc. You can apply over the phone by calling 718-935-2009, Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., or by going in person to visit our wonderful Family Welcome Center. It's located here in our Patrice Educational Complex in Building A on the 1st floor. You can learn more about the admissions process by attending a virtual sessions with a link we're going to provide in the chat. You can enter passcode 123456 or by calling 646-931-3860 and entering the passcode ID conference. And that informational session will be, the virtual informational session will be on February 7th at 2 p.m. and then again on February 15th at 6 p.m. Okay, next we have our children with autism who are entering kindergartens in District 5, 12, and 14 will be guaranteed a spot in specialized NEST or Horizon program in their neighborhood schools, as the DOE has added 160 seats. I bring this information to council and to our families at home because while this is a pilot program with a small and characterized effort, its success could have big meaning for our families here on Staten Island because our borough is the one that has the largest population of special needs students. Some clarification for our families at home if they're interested in learning about our NEST, Horizon, or AIMS program. Our NEST program integrates students with autism who are performing on grade level in classrooms with their general education peers. Horizon exclusively serves students with disabilities who have greater academic needs in separate classrooms with up to 8 students and 2 staff members. And the AIMS program is designed for students with autism in grades K through 2 who have significant behavioral, communication, or social delays. Those classrooms typically include a certified behavior specialist, a special education teacher, a speech teacher, and paraprofessionals. These programs are really important, and there's not enough seats located in our local community schools. Many of our students across Staten Island travel more than an hour there and back in order to gain access to these programs. So our council has pushed for this for many years, and seeing the expansion of the program is too exciting an issue not to bring up here and to celebrate with our families at home. Let's hope for that continued success of that programming. I want to let everybody know about the educational awarenesses that are for the month of February. If you do not know, as you should, it is African American History Month, and specifically the week of the 5th through the 9th is our Black Lives Matter at School Week of Action. So we encourage families to celebrate this month with a reading list curated by the New York Public Library's Schoenberg Center for Research in Black Culture, and we'll share that list in our chat. It's located in Harlem, and it contains a list of books for both adults, kids, and teens. In addition, Taking Care Artists Scholars discussion on Thursday, February 15th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., where you can join artist Alyssa Blunt-Moorhead and Bradford Young in conversation with scholar advisors Debbie Ann Page and Dr. Rita Reynolds and Lisa Holland for discussion around their research and participation in the amazing exhibit at our own SI Museum. It's called Taking Care, the Black Angels of the Seaview Hospital. It's a limited capacity and registration is strongly recommended visiting the museum's website. Cost is $15 for adults and $10 for members, and it's free for our students. You can also celebrate Black History Month at the SI Children's Museum with choreographer and dancer Walter Rutledge. It's a jukebox jam workshop. It takes visitors on a journey through music of iconic African-American artists. That is a drop-in workshop at noon, 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. and admission is $8. You can check out the SI Children's Museum site for more. Kids Week, Sandy Ground Historia on Thursday, February 22nd, 11 to noon. You can bring your kids to the parks throughout the city for kids over the February break. It's led by the Urban Park Rangers, and kids will get to experience nature in a hands-on and fun way. Celebrate Black History Month by learning about Sandy Ground in Rossville, the nation's oldest free Black settlement still inhabited by the descendants of the pioneers. It's a free event, and it's in the parking lot of the Bricktown Way entrance in the Fairview Park. You can also join NYC Parks on the Audre Lorde Walk at Silver Lake Park, and you can honor the famous poet and draw inspiration from your surroundings while you practice creating your own poetry. Again, that is a free event, and it's located on Forest Avenue and Silver Lake Park Road. St. George Library is also celebrating Black History films with screenings of 42, This True Story of an American Legend on February 9th from 12 to 2:30, and that is also free. February 17th is Random Acts of Kindness Day. This day celebrates the belief in kindness and is dedicated to providing resources and tools that encourage acts of kindness. And so I would ask you all, maybe take a moment, leave a kind note for someone with no explanation, maybe pay for the coffee or the treat for the person in front or behind you in line. Send a thank you note to your local service people, make a donation to a local food pantry. The truth is, kindness can start with just a simple smile, friends. And if we demonstrate kindness for your children daily and acknowledge the acts of kindness, it can only spread and make things better every day. And that will conclude my president's report. I would love to turn it over to the superintendent, the amazing Dr. Marion Wilson, for her report on our district. I would also like to mention in person, the deputy superintendent is joining us, Roderick Paulton. Thank you, Dr. Paulson, for being here.
Yay! Thank you. Teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you, President. Thank you, esteemed council, and to all of our visitors and to our student representative, Ms. Princess. Thank you so much for always showing up and representing the student voice in District 31. Thank you so much, Rumi, for getting us started. Before I go to the presentation for a quick state of the district, I would like to acknowledge our newest principal. He was not able to make it last month, but he's on this month, Dr. Jason Cotto from PS 38. He's our newest assistant principal. Are you on, Dr. Cotto?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Had some technology problems, but I'm here.
So happy. So congratulations on your interim acting. How's it going so far?
It is just wonderful. You are a matchmaker. You match me with a school that is 100% amazing on all levels. It is a joyous experience as I completed my 22nd day. I actually just finished journaling while we took the little dinner break. So it's very exciting and I'm looking forward to great things ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know you have an early morning ahead, so if you need to sign off, but I just want to acknowledge you, and it's always customary for our CEC members to know our newest principals. So welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So
right back at you. So we've had so many great things happen this month. I don't think I can get everything in, but I know it's getting late, so I'm going to try to do my best to move forward quickly. Next slide. I want to shout out Stacy, who's handling all of our complaints and our parent outreach. Don't think I forgot about you. Thank you, Stacy. So you should be familiar with these graphics. This is our District 31, our mission, our vision statements, the things that we're guided and what we believe in, thinking about, students can learn to read. Staff desire the best for students and parents are our partners. And I just want to say, this was done in 2021 when I first started before the chancellor. And I hope you see some of the coincidences or similarities and what the city as their priorities and something that we've been doing and focusing on in District 31. Next slide. So when President Lucia was talking about the bold futures, I was at the press conference because I was a member of the Special Ed Advisory Council. And it was a pleasure just being there, listening to what was going on. I was joined by the best director of special ed in all of the city of New York, Ms. Darlene Degremont. And even though we were not selected our district to be a part of the pilot, I'm sure that hopefully with your advocacy, CEC and President Lucia and the rest of the council members, I'm hoping that by next year, when they roll it out again for the following school year, we could be a part of it. But thinking about the advocacy that happens from our special ed advocates and thinking about our special needs population, at first I was wondering why I was selected for the panel, but now I understand why. Staten Island is just a microcosm of the entire city, and I did have a lot to share. So even though I was not trained in special ed, I do have experiences that listening to our parent voices, listening to the escalations and 311 calls that come in, how can we better support families? And it is a shame. A parent talked about a child having to travel 1 hour on a bus just to get to the appropriate program. So listen, we'll share the plan with you so you can learn more about what's in the special ed reform. And we're excited about the recommendations that we made to the chancellor. Our district has a strategic plan of how we're operating, and I want to thank Christine Laughlin for helping to lead some of these efforts, along with our amazing deputy superintendents, Dr. Paulton and Ms. Chavez. If you think about the priorities, all students learn to read well, and in a moment, I'll share with you the decision about the curricula that we've chosen. Chancellor's priority number 2, all students are physically and emotionally safe. Priority 3, all students have a high quality academic experience. Priority 4, all students graduate college and career ready. And finally, how do we redesign the system so that our parents are truly our partners? And later on in my presentation, I'll share how the CEC members are giving up their time to partner with us in a meaningful way. And it's not happening across the city, because when I say I'm rolling through with my CEC members, some people are like, really? Oh my goodness. And for me, it's just so natural because the feedback is very valuable and great points. And I really do like being around my CEC. I think I have the best CEC in the district, and I talk about it in the city, and I talk about it all the time. Next slide, please. So we've decided on using HMH will be the curriculum of choice based on the science of reading. So if you're not familiar with the program, many of our schools are already using it. So of our 51 elementary standalone programs, about 20%, 40% of our schools were already using HMH. Did we lose the presentation? Oh. Which also involves letters training, and we can give you some more information about it. And stay tuned for a living room chat. We're going to design a curriculum night where parents, if you have kids in K-5, you can come out and see the program in its entirety and get to touch and feel and get a sense of it. And each school will be also working with their SOTs to provide more information for you. Next slide. All students have to be physically safe. Here's just some data, and I want you just to take a moment. Right now, currently, we have 53,305 students, and the number fluctuates. People leave, they come out. So let me just walk you through quickly the dashboard. That is the wrong title on it, but it's okay. So currently, our attendance rate is at 91.8%. You can notice our chronic absenteeism rate, how many occurrences we've had as far as behavior. So ORS is online occurrence reporting system. And if you're not familiar, we can definitely share that, offline with you if you have more information, more questions about it. But I want to draw your attention to the 2 bar graphs at the bottom. What that does is highlight for you our academic screeners. Now, you're saying, Marion, what is a screener? A screener is before we can find out how to help and support children in prescribing what they need, we give them a screening tool. Just like if you go to the doctor, before they run to give you tests, they do some screening. So there's academic screeners and behavior screeners. As a district, we've landed on Acadians for K-2, iReady, and NWEA MAP for ELA and math that can be used from K-12. Not everyone's using it in that manner, but just so you have a sense. The graph there shows you the red are students needing an extensive remediation. They're very, very far below grade level. The goldenrod section are those that are just a little bit below that may benefit for some after-school tutoring, in-class small group, maybe a Saturday program, and really honing in and targeting why they're just below the mark of proficiency they need. The light blue are students who are on grade level, and the darker blue are those that are above grade level. So when we're thinking about getting ready for state exams, the number that's the blue shaded areas kind of help us to predict where students are. The second window for the winter period has not completed yet. So this data is inclusive. This is inconclusive, I'm sorry. This is just the winter months. So just looking at this data, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We did a quick Kahoot. I think I'm going to do it at one of our meetings just to kind of test how well you know the district. Even though you see that there's 72 schools on the dashboard, we actually have 74 principals because we have our 2 pre-K principals who supervise the 12 pre-K centers on the island. Next slide. So what do we mean by having a high quality learning experience or academic experience for our students? Really promoting not just college readiness, but also thinking about careers. I'm not sure if I've shared with everyone, but I do want it on the record that I was able to get Chris Gardner from, if you ever saw the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness that starred Will Smith and his son. He came out to Staten Island and visited Port Richmond and McKee High School. He is offering graduating seniors this year, June, that if they join an apprenticeship program with the National AFL-CIO, and I hope that's the correct acronym, I'm saying it in the right order, guaranteed apprenticeships making $30 to $40 an hour. And if they stick with it for 3 years, guaranteed $100,000 salary. I realize that I have to do a better job of sharing the great things that are happening in District 31. And that's one of the things that we're excited about. We also have STREAM. So if you see that blue logo, it's really helping schools reimagine the learning experience for students. And I'll talk about that a little later. Each school should be developing a STREAM lab site in order to help kids just get access to science, technology. There's 2 R's, reading and robotics, engineering, arts, and math. So finding ways of integrating those areas into daily lessons. If you're visiting one of the schools or your children's school, please ask them to see their mindfulness or meditation space or room. I just saw a great one at PS 55 that I'm just so head over heels excited about. And it's not just for show purposes. It's to help de-escalate when students are in crisis, helping them just find a calm, quiet place. There's a lot of them across the district, and I hope you get a chance to see them. Next slide. So all students graduate college and career readiness with a strong plan and pathway to economic security. This is the mission of the New York City Public Schools that the chancellor is talking about, making sure that we're preparing kids for what they need. So when they exit our system, they can read, they can write, they can critically think, they know how to communicate. So we want to ensure that the lessons are rigorous, but also relevant for our students. Next slide. So inclusivity for our parents and families. So in another slide, you'll see that I had the amazing opportunity last week to travel over to District 20 with our president of our CEC and Mr. Joseph Bird. And we had a glorious morning, spending the day at PS, I believe it was 112. Is it 112? Yeah. And just visiting between the annex and their main building. I don't know if you guys wanted to share quickly your experience from visiting the dual language Italian program. I had such a wonderful time. Any thoughts from Mr. Bird? Ms. Boylan?
No, it was really good. Yeah, I just want to underscore, it was really great dual language program. I think the immersion was great, and we hope to replicate something soon on Staten Island. I don't know, Lucci, if you have anything else.
Just it was really an extraordinary experience to see the kids in action, really making dual language work, not just only as like an additive to their programming, but in part of everything they do. They were looking at their ELA, their math lessons. It was truly a comprehensive program that was really thought out by the Brooklyn teachers in that building that are passionate about dual language, and it would be exciting to see something like that on Staten Island. So we're really grateful to the superintendent for bringing that dynamic here to the island, and we hope we can replicate it for sure.
Thank you. And I want to thank Christine Chavez when she brought the Consulate General from Italy to visit us. I thank you, Christine, for putting us in touch. I thank Superintendent Preto. I just think the rich experience. So right now, Christine and I, we decided we're going to start off with PS 36. IS7 and Tauntonville High School to work it out. But what I loved about what they're doing in Brooklyn is the parent inclusion piece, the activities they have with the art, with literature, and just exposing kids to the language. And guess what the greatest part was? You didn't have to have an Italian background to be a part of the program. So you had children speaking, and I love the fact that the president of the CEC and Mr. Bird were my translators. Who needs Google when you have people right next to you that can just translate? But it was really a great experience. We also have the Black Studies curriculum that's coming up. We're going to pilot a few lessons across the district. Yes, Daryl DMC was amazing. That's going to be the book for K-5 in our district. We really want to address the bullying issue that we have, and we don't want it just to be in talk, really thinking about how do we help students with their experience so that social emotional learning is also critical. So I'll be remiss, I talk about academic, but I want kids to be safe. It hurts my heart when I have to speak to a parent on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock because something happened to their child. So really just being aggressive with helping schools and everyone understand we have a zero tolerance policy in District 31. We don't want our kids harmed. We don't want them hurt. We want them to go to school and come back the same way. Next slide. Oh, and before I forget, special shout out to Frank Marino. Is Frank there today? Frank Marino, if everyone in the Hall of Science could just give him a round of applause. Woo! Frank, yay! Frank, on a rainy night in January, he trekked over to Boys and Girls High School to represent all of you parents for the Chancellor's first ever parent engagement meeting. Frank, I can't tell you how much I was going to send you a letter, but I figured I'll just shout you out in person. I am so grateful for you meeting with the team and having conversations and just representing Staten Island in a big way. And your contributions were so meaningful. Thank you so much. Did you want to share anything about your experience, any of the conversations we had that night?
Well, first of all, you're very welcome, but I got so much out of it, and I think it was incredibly collaborative, and it was a great way for us to, for myself and the, fellow council members of the CEC, for us to just, continue expanding our, engagement with the community, community leaders, and most of all, parents.
Definitely. And we value your feedback. So thank you so much for that, Frank. And to Rumi and to Christine Lachlan and Dr. Paulton, who attended with you. We have some commitments that we're going to be going over soon. And just listening, like making sure that when there are monthly parent coordinator meetings, that they know who the CEC members are. And not that they shouldn't treat every parent like that, but when you walk into a school, they should know who you are and why you are there. So we're going to definitely work on that. So thank you for that feedback.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So the power of student voice, wrapping up just a few more slides. Power of student voice, as you know, that's something that's critical to my superintendency. Listening to children, we don't work at them, we work with them. And Princess is a clear example of this being an action that her voice is heard. And those are just some of the organizations we have in case you do not know about it. So we talked about STREAM. I've invested almost quarter of the district's budget to training a group of teachers so that they have really impressive STEM labs. You never know what a child is interested in. We want hands-on. We have at IS 61, he has a robotics lab, but guess what he did? He bought a woodworking cart. So whenever the theater wanted to build maybe a set, you're teaching kids how to use the woodworking machine so they can build parts of the set. We do Lego robotics, but he has also hands-on materials. So go to Tottenville, there's an airline simulator. You go over, there's so many different things happening and just really fostering design thinking. We have partnered with 21st Century Ed to make sure that there's a curriculum in place. Now, some people may say, well, that's a lot of stuff. Rumi, next slide, please. That's a lot of things going on if the kids can't read. We have to find different ways of engaging our children. The way we went to school, and I'm not going to say my age, but the way we went to school, we have to change the way that we're teaching kids to keep them engaged. Thank you so much. Next slide. So we talked about the social emotional learning. Won't go into, depth with that, but definitely the mindfulness room and really, encouraging schools to have a research-based program. We're going to have a research-based literacy program. Why not have the same for social emotional learning? Stay tuned for some of that information. Multi-tiered system of support. This could be their own presentation. The easiest way for me to explain to everyone that's on this call is to think of a triangle, as I was explaining earlier. The bottom part of the triangle should be for like 80% of the students. Core instruction, what everyone gets. Doesn't matter if you have an IEP, you don't speak the language, you're gifted, everyone gets the core. But if you're slightly behind, about 15% of the students should get some small groups tutoring just to help them get caught up. And this is all before we start referring children for special ed. If they need the services, by all means, but sometimes they run straight from core instruction straight to special ed without going through the entire continuum. At the top, red should be just a small number of students who are significantly behind that may benefit from one-to-one tutoring. But then in our case, we have so many students, the numbers are larger than 80, 15, or 5 to 10%. Sometimes we have 20 to 30% of our kids severely behind. So really helping our schools get better with collecting data and providing the right interventions to help kids. So parents on the call, the easiest way to ask information and to be in the know, speak to your child's teacher, speak to your child's principal and find out what intervention programs are you using? And if the intervention is not working, are you going to continue using it? Or are you going to maybe switch it out to find something to help children learn and get better? Next slide. So we talked about the Black Studies Continuum, just a picture of us while smiling. Keep going. Rumi. Next slide. Yes. So just want to end off with this picture with parents, teachers, and principals in this photo, still smiling about it. And oh my God, those sandwiches were delicious and the pastries. Oh, but let me not go there. Oh, they treated us so lovely, just a full immersion experience. So don't forget we have a district app. You can't say you didn't know there was a CEC meeting because we're always pushing out notifications, keeping you informed. The chancellor has made, in wrapping up, the chancellor has made some changes to the discipline code. And I just wanted to let you know that parents now have the opportunity to start their own ORS report. We're really doubling down on bullying allegations and making sure parents feel heard and their children are safe, in addition to making sure that everyone knows the resources that are out there. So more information coming. Christine or Roderick, is there anything else that I left off that you would like to add? If not, I will conclude my report. Want to thank my amazing team.
We do have one question.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Placed in our Q&A, one of the parents had asked a question regarding the LSI designation letters that went out to our schools. And so we'd like to turn it over to Dr. Poughton just to explain that a little to our family.
Sure thing.
Yes, I know a lot of families received those letters, and I think someone had a question about the LSI designation. That is actually a good thing. It means local support, which means that whatever support and systems that are currently in place at the local level, at the district level, are good enough to sustain, as long as you don't have a subgroup or multiple groups of students that are in need of additional support, then you are going to be in good standing with the state. So that is actually a good thing.
Oh, and thank you so much. So that slide was not in there. So we do have 2 schools that remain CSI schools. That's PS 31 and PS 20. PS 44 is off the list. We're so excited. Yay, PS 44. We have a ATSI school, which is IS 49, and they continue to work to get off the list. And we have a couple of pre-TSI schools. TSI is a targeted support improvement, meaning they were identified for just one particular area. If you're a CSI school, a comprehensive support intervention, that means that you were ranked in one of the lowest performing schools in all of the city. So just wanted to offer that clarification. So again, thank you for the opportunity to serve you. Next month, I'll be presenting on our fair student funding budget. So that's why I wanted to really get this meeting in, just to give you an opportunity if you had any questions for me and just to know what's going on in the district. It's my duty and responsibility to make sure parents know what's happening. And I didn't even give you everything that's going on. This was just a taste. So I thank you for your time. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Oh, thank you, Christine. And thank you all. That concludes
Thank you,
my
Dr. Wilson. That was an amazing presentation and really informative for our families that don't know what's happening in the district. Just a quick snapshot to let you know all the amazing things that are happening on SI. Any questions from council members regarding the presentation, or anybody with questions for Dr. Wilson? No, you are all set, Dr. Wilson. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your presence here. And again, to Dr. Paulton for being here with us in person, and Stacey Magnus for being with us in person, and our UFT partner, Sean, is here from got so many people. It's so great. We're so excited. Oh, great.
I don't know, but she did have a comment in there.
Oh, okay.
Before anybody logs off, if they want to.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem. We do have a speaker registered for this evening. All right, so I'd like to move to our next item on our agenda so we can get to our speakers really quick. Sound good? Our next is going to be our committee reports. For everybody that was here and already heard some of the announcements at our business meeting, I apologize, but for those that are joining us just for the calendar, I just want to provide those same updates. There is no current update on our vacant D75 seat selection. We will hopefully have an answer to that as early as March, but perhaps as late as April. The D75 President's Council is selecting from a list of applicants to fill that seat here for us of our D75 representative on the CEC. We still have vacant seats on our council, so if you enjoyed this meeting, if you think you would like to seat at this table, please fill out our vacancy application for either an ELL representative seat or our D31 representative seat that is also open. Our resolutions committee will be meeting on February 26th at 7 p.m. Keep an eye on your email, more information and flyer to follow. I want to again thank President BP Fasella for kicking off his Readers Are Leaders program at PS 65, led by Principal Jacob Alex. That reading program challenges fourth graders in the borough's public, parochial, and private schools to read a minimum of 5 books at grade level or above during a 5-week period. Students will then submit a report about their favorite book at the conclusion of the program, and each school will choose one super reader to receive an award during a special ceremony in May. Each super reader will also have the opportunity to compete to have a short story published by Showtime Publications, a local Staten Island publishing company owned by Bob Williams, and we'll place more information in the chat for any schools that are interested in registering their students for the Readers Are Leaders program. I want to thank, again, Dr. Wilson mentioned it in her speech, the outstanding members of the PS 26 PTA and our amazing Principal Bassett and the superintendent herself for inviting me to be part of the Daryl McDaniel's read-through of his book, children's book, Daryl's Dream. It was an unbelievable experience. That book addresses confidence, facing bullies, and celebrating yourself. It ties into the work that our district is doing in partnership with the CEC on bullying, and we were so grateful to be part of that presentation. So thank you to him. It was unbelievable. Our mayoral control hearing was done on the January 29th here at the Patrides Complex, and parents of our local community aired their views regarding the 20-year-old system of mayoral control, and it's set to expire on June 30th. We should let everybody know that Governor Hochul supports a 4-year extension of mayoral control. Our council has felt differently in past and still continues to feel the same, that this is a program that is in dire need of revision or to be overturned. And our very own Princess Abomeli, our CEC student member, attended that hearing, and I'd love to turn it over to her to read through a statement that she has garnered after attending that meeting. Thank you.
I'm not hearing anything. Is it just me?
Mayoral, centrally, and unilateral focused control of schools. Was I not being heard?
No, you.
No.
Okay, I'm fine. Okay. And unilaterally focused control of schools will only facilitate the development of students and staff and school staff performance standards in our schools, but also offer better individualized assistance to these students and more effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of students' needs. It is my view that more parents and community involvement in our schools' governance will increase the likelihood that students will learn and thrive better. As a student, I know that we are more prepared for school, more likely to achieve, more likely to graduate when we are personally supported by schools, families, and communities. So as the Community Education Council rightly pointed out, creating the CLT is not the effective solution to our flawed school governance system. Hence, I support the proposition that while our city work with our parent leaders to develop an alternative to the mayoral control of our school system, the legislature A 1799 and S 2967 should be completely rejected.
Thank you so much, Princess. Thank you so much for sharing that statement with us. It's well prepared, and we really, really appreciate you voicing your opinion in support of all the students of Staten Island. I would like to move to the next item on our agenda, which is public speaking. As our council member Teresa Shirley had mentioned, we have somebody signed up. Claudia, if you are still with us, we will happily give you the floor for 3 minutes. I don't know if she's still here though. All right, well, we'll reach out to her via email and see if we can address her issue offline. Yeah, maybe.
Her son is participating in a college credit program to further his career.
Amazing.
I think she wanted to
Talk about the college credit program. That's amazing. All right, so hopefully we can share a little bit more about that next time. All right, if there's no other public speakers, then I'd love to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. Any new business for next month, council members? Don't all jump in at once. Okay, I think we're good. No new business. And so then I'd like to take a moment to thank our special guests that are joining with us. Dr. Broderick Paulton, our Deputy Superintendent, Sean from UFT, Adrian Stillen from the BP President's Office. Thanks to Tim Costanza and his, I'm sorry, I forgot your name already, and I'm so sorry. And for being here from Bridge Charter Pep, we truly appreciate it. Sean, anything from UFT for us that you'd like to take over on the floor?
Just maybe touch base very quickly on the mayoral hearing.
Would love it.
New York High School. Jen had just discussed, we had hoped for a much larger turnout, but the UFT contingent was there with 20 speakers. And we all kept within our 3-minute time. And the UFT's position is that mayoral control at this point needs revision.
Agreed.
We all had a few suggestions to add, but in its current form, we do believe it's tyrannical and it is not serving the needs of students in New York City. We'll leave it at that.
Anything else? Anything from BP Fazal? No? All right. All right, folks. Then I would like to wish everyone a very happy Valentine's Day. An overrated holiday for sure, but I love you all. And I love you all at home as well. So I hope it's a wonderful one for you guys, and we will see you all in March. Keep your eyes on your email. If you have any questions, please always feel free to email us at cec31@schools.nyc.gov. And if you need any information from tonight's meetings or meetings prior, please visit our website at www.cec31.org. We look forward to seeing you again in March. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful night. I'd love a motion for adjournment. Motion and seconded. Thank you, everyone.